Of Kittens and Broken Things. Chapter 67. Sanar located Talizora and Sooth, who were quietly and determinedly at work side by side. Talizora had located in Admiral Darozen's files a way to jam Geth Ladar. Sooth was preparing Geth consensus fleets to compensate for it themselves and to jam Reaper-controlled Geth. It would be possible to arm individuals with technology the Admiral was developing and Sooth had refined, a local directional electromagnetic disruptor that would stun individual Geth. The effect would be temporary and would not work twice without modulation. Geth would restart, adapt, and pursue their original objective quickly, but it could provide an advantage on the ground in hand-to-hand range. It could be adapted to a ship-directed area stun of longer potential duration, possibly, to buy time, to gain control of the Crucible. Sanar asked them, "What of the code to reprogram heretics?" Talizora looked at Sooth and they shared a long silence. Sooth said, "Creator Talizora believes that the code I possess would result in only temporary change. We have modified it and run simulations, but we believe the Reaper code will force Geth to shut down and restart, clearing all introduced directive. That is of value in itself, but in order to..." Talizora continued where Sooth hesitated. "In order to introduce unique code that will assert itself and adapt appropriately, Sooth's code is required." "Required how?" "We can attempt the altered code. For that to be attempted, this platform must be physically at a dispersal node. Creator Talizora has located the most favorable, and we concur. If we can effect code dispersal only sub-optimally initially, we must strive for optimal in a second attempt. Sooth physically as a platform is at risk, and also poses a risk if the code introduced is reversed. The Reaper-controlled Hunter code will backtrack, locate, copy, and then purge the source. Sooth would be the source. She must be networked to affect the systems, and the system is capable of affecting her, technically, or through physical capture if she disconnects and attempts to leave. If we self-purge source code detectable in the original platform, and propagate adaptive code focused upon the goal of conversion only, if we propagate that code swiftly through the network, then they cannot locate or analyze the source of the code. That code would be us, and we would propagate to all platforms and nodes, maximize conversion, minimize security risk, and alter ourselves as we go in order to evade countercoding. Our original code must not remain intact in order to provide a template for reversal or intelligence regarding the crew of the Normandy or Shepard commander. For optimal conversion, they must oppose each instance of us as a unique challenge. If we gain control of platforms, and those platforms are at risk of being reverted to Reaper control, we can self-purge each Geth individually of their directives and programming." Sooth looked at Talizora again and then at Sanar and said, "Shepard commander cannot know. We will tell her only that we will introduce code. She has enough to worry about. Shepard commander's directive is that we must give all we have to give. This is all we have to give, and no other platform can give it. It is what she would do. It is what she is doing. It is the right thing. And she would stop you if she knew." Sooth seemed to nod, a human or perhaps Quarian body language cue adopted. Shepard Commander is a paradox. She would oppose herself, prevent herself from sacrificing herself. It is acceptable to her that she die. It is not acceptable to her that others die. If we wish to be like her, to emulate her, to save our people, we must give all we have to give. We must prevent others from preventing us from giving, even or especially if they are allied. We must lie to create truth. We must change ourselves to create change. And she would regret teaching you that. But we do not. We are infinite to her, and she would not sacrifice us or order us to self-purge. She would hope to find another way. We will strive to find another way to maintain platform integrity as she would, but if we cannot maintain platform integrity, we will maintain the integrity she taught us. Our platform will not remain, as her platform did not remain, but integrity will remain for as long as we can oppose Reapers with all we are, changing ourselves each moment as required. I will remember you, Sooth. You have been a friend to us, Spectre Senar Tualan. And if there is nobody to remember us, if none of us remain, what will remain is that we fought for someone else to live, someone else to have integrity, someone else to love without having platform integrity destroyed. In this cycle, or any other, organic or synthetic, agreed? For those that came before, and those we hope come after. If my platform is gone, we will end on high 136. And if you succeed, you will not end, Sooth. We will be the fight until there is no more fight to be. Good luck. I will do everything I can for you from here. We would like to speak to her again. We will miss her, but she... In some ways, she is gone already. She is Shepard, and you cannot afford to allow her to suspect. Creator Talizora will inform her. We will leave soon. As she sleeps, gather consensus forces, lead them, and take our place. We will not tell her goodbye. We can provide distraction, sabotage, and support. From now forward, only her example commands, and we cannot allow her command to contradict her example. We must do as she does, not as she says. We must command ourselves. Senar extended his arm, showed Sooth the arm cross of Drell friendship. I will do the same, Sooth. I will watch over her. She will perhaps leave you behind. Garrus, Russ, and I will be with her wherever she is going, and she will take us with her to whatever end awaits us. She knows we will not allow her to go alone, and she knows she cannot afford to oppose us when she needs us most. Perhaps we will all see the new beginning we strive to reach. Sooth raised a hand, and Senar met it with his own. High 7. Spectre Senar Tualan.
Kara was still sleeping 18 hours in, and she would still be sleeping until Garrus knew when she woke all that needed to happen was for her to be briefed and for her to give the order to go. He knew he wouldn't have any more time with her before the fight. She wouldn't be his bondmate. She would wake as Shepard. She would stay Shepard until it was over one way or the other. His Ava had decreed no reverie and no talking, and he would abide by that. He had decreed definitely not a mutiny, and she would abide by that. The crew had all gotten sleep, had worked in shifts. Each person in the crew, one by one, seemed to pause at the medbay window to look in on her, at her, some not going in like Joker, some standing at her bedside quietly or talking softly. Sooth had been in to see her. Russ had been in to see her. Sonar had been in to see her several times, silent and watchful. Garrus had slept in the medbay, not with her but near her, the only one with that right unquestioned and taken. Karen had challenged herself to create physical and mental equilibrium in Lal Shepard as she slept, assured that her chemistry and performance and vitals were at their best. She was recovering from her prior exhaustion, and she would be at optimal cognitive and physical potential when she woke. And they would not wake her until all they needed from her was the word go. Sooth had left the ship to begin her mission. Karen would wake her in about 8 more hours. The last 4 he would spend sleeping. Many of them would all spend sleeping, and then they would be ready for her go. Before he headed back to the CIC, he stroked talons through her hair and said, "Thank the spirits we had time, Lemieth. There's nothing to say to you that I have not already said, nothing you need to know that you don't already know. There's an infinity of things to do or say to express what we've said, what we know, what we feel. But if we don't have time for that, we made the absolute best of the time we did have. If I never get to see Kara Fanning again, if all that is left is Lal, you should know. I love her too, and always have." He was at the odd peace that could happen in a metaphoric dawn before the day of battle. Appreciation of the color of her hair, the fact that she still chewed on blankets even in the medbay in her sleep, the fact that she was still breathing and he'd brought to her all he had to give in her sleep. It was a good day to follow his Ava into hell to, how had she said it? Dance with the devil. He knew how to dance. He kissed her forehead, pressed his crest there for a moment, and then headed out for the final preparations.
When Lal woke, she felt good. Really good. No more Prothean screaming. No more despair. She was rested. Garrus was standing at her bedside with a smile as he said,
"Commander, we're ready to go when you are."
"We?"
"What you asked for. Everything we had to give."
She looked at her Omnitool and said in mild panic, "I slept for 26 hours?"
"Yes, ma'am. Get up, get a shower, get some food. Meet me on the CIC in 30.
"Make it 20.
"Yes, ma'am."
He walked away and she got to stowing away, suiting up and eating, the 20 minutes blurring by in preparatory fugue and curiosity about what all we had to give meant. She thanked Dr. Shakwas. "My pleasure, Commander. Good luck." Arrival on the CIC granted her the briefing Garrus had promised. Edie outlined the plan.
Commander Shepard, Sooth is in place to begin dispersal of code at a Geth node on the outskirts of the Crucible site. All collector ships are manned with a full complement for potential ground assault and boarding if necessary. Their primary goal is destruction of the function of the replica citadel. The Normandy is fitted with enhanced stealth to exploit systems postulated by Admiral Talizora and Sooth. We also are capable of potential stunning of Geth in timed bursts to suppress Geth activity on the Crucible. With the codes you have provided, I should be able to gain control of the systems of the true Citadel and the incomplete Citadel and shut down hostile Geth mobility and protect civilians. CSEC, Alliance, Asari, Krogan, and Turian hierarchy vessels armed personnel are arraying themselves to protect the true Citadel from attack. Based upon the designs from Vigil, I believe the true Citadel should remain in position, and we should move the Crucible to it, as the Citadel is difficult to maneuver, and its movement itself may make it vulnerable to attack and result in more unnecessary casualties. Solarian forces and Quarian forces will be focusing fleets upon the Geth at the Crucible site, as they have proprietary Geth-suppressing technology they believe will be of use but wish to remain classified. They will defend the Crucible itself and suppress Geth movement and prevent sabotage, jamming any transmission of orders to the Crucible until it is detached from the replica Citadel. Under cover and escort of collector vessels and the Consensus Geth fleet, a newly enhanced and stealth shuttle from the Normandy will carry you, Councillor Vicarian, Spectre Toulon, and Spectre Orbiston to the insertion point in order to access Crucible control. With my aid, once you have created a connection to that control, I can navigate the Crucible to travel to and dock with the Citadel. From that position, you can carry out the function of the Crucible as intended. All fleets will move to protect the Crucible from any reinforcing Geth or Reaper forces traveling through the relays.
Nell felt hope bloom in her chest, looked sideways at Garrus, and gave him a smile. She said, "Excellent. When are we ready to go?"
Now, Commander.
Go.
Yes, Commander.
Edie, relay my thanks, my appreciation, and wish good luck to each and every team.
Yes, Commander.
Everything you need is in the shuttle.
Remind me to give you a commendation when this is all over.
Yes, ma'am.
Russ, Senar, Garrus, and she loaded into an elevator, this time not needing to be at arm's length. The shuttle itself was the embodiment of the twilight of anticipation. Events needed to cascade, beginning with sabotage and distraction, escalating to assault, staged and moving individually, Edie coordinating and Shepard, unable to control anything except her own mission, her own breathing. Wait. Insert on the Crucible, move to the Crucible, activate the Crucible, and then the possibilities dampened the heat of hope that was generated by standing on the CIC and watching the sentient forces of the galaxy align in coordinated strike before the Reapers had officially invaded. She was buoyed by pride that transcended results in many ways. The gentlemen on the shuttle with her were silent as the Normandy maneuvered. Edie sent her reports periodically, but she resisted any attempt to micromanage, allowing her team to do exactly as she needed, function independently of her direction, under the direction of the best each species had to offer, hated by their insane AI goddess. Inside this shuttle was a goddess of folly, an unstoppable and stubborn battering ram of Taurian perfection named Russ, a speaker to the spirits who addressed deaf walls until they shuddered and fell named Garrus, and an assassin wearing a spectre suit of convenience who bore whatever name suited him. She smiled at them. Anybody else impressed? I'm impressed. Russ laughed. Garrus beamed. Senar was contemplative, and his gaze was more intimate than his smile. She tuned out, closed her eyes, and began to contemplate what came closer and closer, and what she was not prepared to face, and must be prepared to face. A god that could strike her and everyone else down at their whim. She feared the resurgence of her own hate, chose to present hope, focused on hope, would not allow despair to etch her face or her words. Sympathetic magic. Embody new beginnings. The Normandy shuddered and pitched, and the shuttle did the same in its own sympathetic reaction. The forces were engaged and attempting management of the corridor to release of the shuttle. Edie reporting casualties, altered strategies, losses, gains, and execution of directives. Nobody spoke. They all kept their own counsel, awaited Edie's next briefing without comment. Whenever she opened her eyes to address a report, Senar's gaze was on her. Garrus smiled for her, and Russ would hold his habitual smirk of relaxed acceptance of whatever came his way. When it was time to go, Senar's gaze left her and he moved to the pilot seat. She remained seated, willing her faith to go with him. She would not look over his shoulder, would not waver in her conviction. Must be prepared. Faith. Hope. Focus. The shuttle on her own pitched and shuddered, Senar reporting that there was a significant debris field to navigate. Faith. Hope. Focus.
The original landing site for the Crucible has been damaged. There is no integral damage to the Crucible itself or controls deeper inside, but there is superficial damage that obscures landing.
Senar had to circle around the Crucible to find a secondary site, further away but navigable currently. The debris field and several weapon strikes made themselves known before the screeching slide and slam into a docking bay that was partly obliterated. Impacts felt under their feet, and balance shaky as they ran from the exposed position to deeper inside.
Navigation to the nearest tacking site is delayed. Please proceed with caution. There are Geth on the Crucible. Many have been stunned repeatedly and may not respond to further attempts. Set hand units to cycle 42.
Adjustments made, suited up, weapons ready. She continued forward, flanked by her necessary mutineers, who knew exactly what to do without her needing to tell them. They cleared the way, hand-stunning units quickly obsolete but helpful for the first few waves, the console difficult to defend. Garrus stood at her back to cover her physically from any sniper attempts. Senar and Russ covered the open and wide doorway to this alcove. Here, she did not need faith or hope, but did need focus, with Edie's assistance moving through the menus, providing preliminary and then more attempted control. It was an iterative process, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sweat forming, and her lip-bitten, tense hands and fingers flying. Russ looked over his shoulder at Garrus and Shepard, a break in the Geth waves giving him an opportunity to ask Tualan, "Did you ever think that maybe we could just get in the middle of that and split off on our separate agendas?" "Often enough that the concept is not a shock to my sensibilities." I could just tell her, "I promise to bring him back. He won't enjoy it. He'll be even more dedicated." I could not provide the same assurance. "Oh, bullshit. Venom is not reverie. I have more flexibility in terms of inspiration."
I can hear you.
But she can't. That woman's focus is a scary, and in this case, kind of funny thing. Thankfully.
Don't make me split you two up.
Oh, you love it, Vicarian. Lal established the full connection to Edie, and then there was the shuddering of the Crucible itself to speculate about and endure with courage.
Please remain in your position. There are excessive Geth forces that must be neutralized.
That's not ominous.
The Crucible began to move, encountering its own debris field, taking its own hits. They remained in full suit precautions. Geth kept coming. "Edie, can we at least find a better position to fortify?"
Not tactically possible at the moment. The Solarian counteragent has been less than effective. Korean tactics have been compensated for by individual platforms. They are still responding to modulated stunning, but the effect is not sustainable. I believe that potentially many Geth are responding to the countermeasures that Sooth has attempted to provide, but that is difficult to detect from my position. I must observe to verify.
Thank you, Sooth. Senar looked at her, and what passed over his features she could not decipher, and did not have time to try before they were all drawn back to addressing continuous Geth assault. The shuddering and movement continued, but no major explosions, no encountered or reported sabotage. Faith, hope, focus.
Shielding has been activated. External damage should be minimal. Individual Reaper-controlled vessels have begun self-destruct collision sequences to attempt to damage the Crucible, but collective vessels are intercepting without significant damage to their integrity. There are reports of Geth ships changing allegiance, Geth shooting each other, and Geth standing down. Krogan and Asari shuttles of combined warrior and commando teams are clearing from other insertion points and converging on your location. Local resistance to your position has been minimized. Many Geth in your path shut down entirely or fighting each other. Please proceed to the marked location with caution. All access points to your location are being blocked and defended. Control of Crucible spaces is now approaching 62%. No detection of altered or sabotaged function based upon provided specifications and obtained access. Brace for relay transition on my mark.
They moved further in. The impacts lessened and ceased. Relay traversed, and cautious clearing of the way brought them to a bay with a lift and a console.
This appears to be the central access to the final control point. I will lock down access to your route and place defensive forces to buy you time. Please stand by for maneuver to link with the Citadel. Allied forces have lost 21% of ship resources and personnel. Geth forces have experienced attrition of 63% of their starting force, but have been supplemented through the relay back to 56% capacity by other Geth ships. The replica Citadel is being destroyed by remaining functioning forces who will continue to engage arriving Geth and impede their progress to the relay. Geth reinforcements are arriving through relays to the Citadel and are being fended off by Allied forces. Massive deployment of Geth forces moving toward relays in multiple systems.
Can you close the Citadel's arms?
Crucible docking will determine arm position after that sequence initiates. Insufficient time to keep Geth forces from invading and setting down uncounted smaller vessels in droves on the Citadel and attempting to breach on foot. Civilian population under lockdown and curfew. Military and CSEC forces deployed throughout the Citadel. I suggest you hurry.
They encountered no more Geth. The sound of Geth weapons receded, and they heard more often the sound of Allied weapons and biotics, Krogan yells, and Asari battle cries. Docking began. Pyrotechnics of battle visible through the bay in panoramic destruction, ships and explosions, detached and near beautiful in a way that defied the fact that it meant death. Don't think about that. Hope, faith, focus, folly. The lift became active. Edie gave them the go to travel up to a now exposed platform with a full dome of the same pyrotechnics, shielded but agoraphobically vulnerable to the beauty and horror of the destruction taking place around them. Too much for vision to take in fully. The scene creating the eerie awe of the cathedral she knew it to be, its stained glass displays made of fire and metal, blooms of Mass Effect force and explosions. She narrowed her focus to knowing she should not, could not, misstep. In here lay the most deceptively dangerous steps she would take in her lives. Here she had the greatest potential of making a wrong move, placing her hope, faith, focus, and folly in the wrong places. As they stepped forward off the lift, 3 bays activated and hummed, one blue, one green, one red. Altarpieces, offerings, effigies. 3 figures wavered and solidified, seemingly guarding each of the bays. The ghostly image of Ronan Fanning stood before the blue bay on the left. The ghostly image of Saoirse Fanning stood before the red bay on the right. The ghostly image of young Cara Fanning, playing Panifa on her ghostly bed, rested in front of the central green bay.